Tonight, you'll close your eyes around 11 and sleep until your alarm. But for 300,000 years, no human did that. And the reason will make you question every bad night's sleep you've ever had. Most people assume our ancestors just went to bed when it got dark and woke up when it got light. One long block, same as us, only earlier. That's not quite right. The real answer is far stranger, and it's hiding in plain sight inside thousands of old books, diaries, court records, and medical manuals. Documents nobody thought to connect until one historian started counting. His name is Roger Ekirch. He's a professor at Virginia Tech, and in the early 1990s, he was researching a completely different book, A History of Nighttime in the Pre-Industrial World. While digging through legal depositions from 16th century England, he kept tripping over the same odd phrase. People described waking up in the middle of the night as a routine event, not insomnia, not a problem, just a thing that happened every night to everyone. The phrase they used was first sleep, and after the first sleep there was a second sleep. And in between there was an hour or two of quiet wakefulness that everyone took for granted, so completely that nobody bothered to explain it. Once Ekirch noticed the pattern, he couldn't stop seeing it. He spent the next 16 years building a database. By the time he published At Day's Close in 2005, he had documented more than 500 references to segmented sleep in sources spanning 1,000 years and a dozen languages. Homer mentions it in the Odyssey. Chaucer mentions it in the Canterbury Tales. A character finishes her first asleep and gets up. A French doctor in 1555 advises patients to lie on their right side during the first sleep and switch to the left for the second. A 15th century prayer manual gives you specific prayers to say during the watch, the wakeful hour between the two sleeps. This wasn't a quirk of one culture. Ekirch found the same pattern in English court records, German poetry, Italian medical texts, African travel accounts, and South American missionary reports. For most of human history, in most of the world, one long, uninterrupted block of sleep was not the norm. 2 sleeps was the norm. So what did people actually do during that wakeful hour in the middle of the night? Pretty much everything. Diaries describe people getting up to tend the fire, check on animals, or use the chamber pot. Some prayed, some smoked, some had sex. A 16th century French physician specifically recommended the period between the 2 sleeps as the best time to conceive because the body was rested and the mind was calm. Neighbors visited each other, parents soothed children, people wrote letters. A surprising number of poems and dream interpretations were drafted in that quiet middle hour because the mind was awake but the world was still asleep, and the membrane between the two felt thinner than it ever does during the day. Now, you might be thinking, fine, that's a cute historical anecdote. Maybe people just had nothing better to do before Netflix. Maybe candles were expensive and they were forced into bed early, so they slept in shifts out of boredom. That's a reasonable objection, and it's exactly what scientists thought until 1992, when a sleep researcher at the National Institute of Mental Health decided to test it. His name was Thomas Wehr. Wehr suspected that modern humans were chronically overlit, that artificial light had shortened our nights and compressed our sleep into a single block. So he ran an experiment. He took 15 healthy adults and put them in a controlled environment with 14 hours of darkness every night for a month. No screens, no lamps, just the natural light cycle our ancestors would have experienced in winter at high latitudes. For the first few weeks, the subjects slept the way you sleep, one long block of about 8 hours. But around week 4, something shifted. Their sleep broke apart. They started falling asleep for about 4 hours, waking up for 1 to 2 hours of quiet, calm wakefulness, and then falling back asleep for another 4. Spontaneously, without being told to, exactly the pattern Ekirch had been finding in 500-year-old letters. And here's the part that gets strange. Wehr measured their hormones during that middle wakeful period. Prolactin levels, a hormone associated with feelings of peace and contentment, the same one that surges during meditation, were elevated for the entire hour. The subjects didn't describe the wake-up as restless or anxious. They described it as the most relaxed they had ever felt in their lives. So, if this is the natural rhythm, what happened to it? When did humans stop sleeping in two pieces? Ekirch traces the shift to a very specific moment, the late 17th century, in the cities of Northern Europe. Street lighting arrived first, oil lamps in Paris in 1667, in London a few years later. Then coffee houses, which stayed open into the night. Then gas lighting in the early 1800s, then Edison's electric bulb in 1879. With each new light source, the night got shorter and the social calendar pushed later. By the 1920s, the phrase first sleep had vanished from English entirely. Within roughly 2 generations of electricity reaching ordinary homes, a behavior that had defined every human night for 300,000 years simply disappeared from memory. Except, Ekirch argues, it didn't fully disappear, it just got renamed. Look up the most common complaint at a modern sleep clinic. It isn't trouble falling asleep. It's something called sleep maintenance insomnia. Waking up in the middle of the night, usually somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, and lying there for an hour, unable to drop back off. Doctors prescribe medication for it. Patients describe it as broken sleep, failed sleep, a symptom of stress. Ekirch and Wehr both suggest something unsettling. What if it isn't insomnia at all? What if a significant fraction of the people lying awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, convinced something is wrong with them? What if their bodies are just doing what human bodies have done for 300,000 years? What if the anxiety isn't the cause of the waking? What if the anxiety is the result of waking up and believing incorrectly that you shouldn't be awake? There's a real cost to that belief. Studies show that the stress of perceiving yourself as a bad sleeper produces measurably worse health outcomes than the broken sleep itself. The cortisol spike comes from the panic, not the wakefulness. So a person inherits an ancient rhythm, interprets it through a modern frame, and gives themselves an illness their great-great-grandparents would not have recognized as an illness at all. This is the twist. We tend to assume our bodies are the constant and our culture is the variable. That underneath the technology, we're still the same animal we were on the savannah, and mostly we are. But sleep is one of the places where the culture moved faster than the biology. Electric light reshaped the human night in about a century. The body is still running software from the Pleistocene. So here's what to do with this. The next time it happens to you, it's 2:47 in the morning. You're awake. Your mind feels sharp and a little floaty. The room is dark, the house is quiet, and your first instinct is to reach for your phone and check the time and start the spiral. I have to be up in 4 hours. I'm ruining tomorrow. What's wrong with me? Try instead treating it the way a 15th century farmer would have treated it, as the watch, the hour between the sleeps. A pocket of quiet that belongs to you and nobody else. Lie there, let your mind drift. Think about a problem, or don't think about anything. Don't turn on a light. Don't check the time. After an hour or so, you'll get drowsy again, and the second sleep will come, and it will be deep. You haven't broken anything. You're not malfunctioning. You're remembering something your species spent 300,000 years knowing and only forgot about 100 years ago. Sit with it.